Hey everybody, it's the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating just one meal a day. Well, it's been a little while since I posted another video. Been pretty busy at work getting set up for the new school year, but now that things have calmed down a little bit and we're getting into a set schedule, I've got a whole bunch more videos that are going to be coming out very soon. And so I wanted to post this today and talk a little bit about OMAD versus the ego. I wanted to make this video because there is a reason why fasting has been a very integral part in most of the religious and spiritual traditions around the globe throughout history. Fasting has this amazing ability to transform aspects of your life. In our modern times, we tend to just focus on our waistline, what we look like, or just how we feel. But there's also this more deeply meaningful, spiritual sort of level of peace that comes to people that fast regularly. I've seen it with a lot of the people that I interact with. It's happened in my life. And you don't have to belong to any set religion or convert to a certain religion to be able to get these benefits. And I'm going to go over some of that today. But first, I think what I'd like to do is define what I mean by your ego. I think a better term for it would be your internal map of reality. It's something that my mentor used to call it. Ego is like your internal map of reality. It is a collective of all of your life experiences, all of the things that feel make you who you are. It's why the ego is often called the false self in certain Buddhist circles, is because your ego is really a collection of all of the things that you've learned, all of the things you've done, all of the roles that you have in society and your family, etc., etc. It's all of the stuff that is about you. It's not exactly you per se, but we feel like it is. But it's really collectively everything that makes up your reality. This internal map of reality. This is what you would refer to as you. And one of the many of the religious traditions of the world that focus on either meditation, fasting, or prayer, or something like that, they all are trying to get you to increase your awareness so that you could see that all of these things that you feel are you are really just things that are about you. And the ego gets a very bad rap, that it's a bad thing. And it really isn't. The good thing about the ego is that if it is a map, then if there's any parts of this map that really aren't quite working for you, then you can upgrade it. See, when these little bits of things that you think are you are if they're the real you and they're unchangeable, then it's like, okay, this is the hand that I've been dealt with in life. That's just it. I'm a victim. That's it. Poor me. But really, if there's aspects of your life that really aren't quite working, then upgrading this map is really one of the things that you need to do. And to do that, it requires a certain amount of awareness. And that's why throughout history, a lot of religious traditions and spiritual traditions included meditation. They included things like fasting as part of the regimen, because it takes a certain amount of awareness to be able to go through your day, to consciously choose when and what to eat or to not eat. And especially this is true now, while we're in this system where food is available to us literally 24/7. In the Western world, especially here in the States, food is just constantly surrounding us. So for us to be able to step aside from that, to just say, I don't need to satisfy these, this desire to constantly have this experience all the time. It takes a certain amount of awareness, and when we engage in that consciously, we come out as different people. So I have 5 points here that I wanted to bring up. I've already briefly talked about one with regards to OMAD and your ego. And the first one is imperative is that doing OMAD increases your awareness. When I first started fasting and experimenting with fasting, I used to catch myself like taking a little bite of food, especially when I was more heavily involved in working in restaurants. And then a minute later I go, oh man, I'm supposed to be fasting today, and then your fast was broken, so you went on with your day. But it takes a certain amount of awareness to be in this environment and to be in this food environment and to be able to not go crazy and have to have every little bit of food and drink that comes your way. So it creates awareness. And the good thing with awareness is that awareness in your life creates choice. You become more attuned to your body and what it's telling you. In other words, if I can become aware of all of these processes, then I can make better decisions. I can make decisions that improve my health and make me feel better. I can listen. I'm more attuned into my body, and I know when I'm really hungry as opposed to just psychologically triggered or I'm bored. And that's the sort of traits that you need for long-term health success. That's what you need. You need that awareness if you're going to beat the game and not be a statistic and have some sort of some version of metabolic disease and metabolic illness way before your time. So doing fasting, intermittent, time-restricted eating, OMAD, whatever you want to call it, whatever version you practice, is going to increase your awareness, and that's a good thing. 2, every religion and spiritual path talks about the endless pit of desire. They all talk about, and there are many myths and stories that go along with this concept and this idea that the more you just give in to every single carnal desire you have, the more it's going to lead down to this pit, and you're going to be in a world of crap. And you see this especially when it comes true with food. You look at the size. Like I was just at the movies this past weekend, and I looked at the sizes of the popcorn, and I remember a large popcorn when I was a kid growing up. It was fairly large, but compared to what they are today, it's unbelievable. This thing was bigger than a bucket, and the calorie count on this thing, not including any of the fake butter and salt that you were going to put on it, was something like 1,200 calories. And this is generally what would be considered a snack for people while watching a movie. 1,200 calories just on popcorn, just for this one little portion of the day. Or going there in a situation like that, and there's candy all laid out. In the theater where I am now, they have gelato, and they have a Pizza Hut kiosk there. And it's, if you keep going down this desire, like, oh, I'd love to have that, just have that, and eat this and eat that. We know what happens. We gain weight. That leads to obesity. It leads to diabetes. It leads to many other metabolic problems for us. So one thing that fasting does is that it gets us more aware of this endless pit of desire within ourselves. And we put a natural limit on it. And desire isn't, in and of itself, isn't a bad thing. If we didn't have any desire, then we wouldn't get out from the cold, and we wouldn't eat when we're supposed to eat, and we'd eventually die from the elements. But when your desire is out of control, it never works out in the long run for you. And every religious and spiritual path out there has many myths and many stories that discuss this very thing. So by doing OMAD and time-restricted eating, you're putting natural limits on your desires. You can eat what you want, but it's going to be on your terms, and it's going to be making it work for you. Number 3, you get to experience true pleasure as opposed to desire. See, once you keep the next thing is that once you keep desire in check, now you get to actually experience true pleasure. I don't know how many times it's happened to me where I said I was going to be fasting and I was going to be good for the day, and I hear this from a lot of other people, and they decide, you know what, I'm going to have a splurge day, or I'm going to break my fast a little early and I'm going to have blank because somebody in the office brought in pizza or donuts or whatever else, and maybe that's a trigger food for you. And then they have that item, they eat it, and they go, oh, you know what, it just wasn't as good as I was building up in my head. So it doesn't happen like that all of the time. Sometimes you need those little breaks in life, and there's nothing wrong with that occasionally. But usually, delayed gratification is always going to feel a lot better than just giving in and having the crap that is laid out in front of you right then and there. In other words, delayed gratification, when you employ that and you choose when it's your time to have something similar to that or almost exactly the same, but that something that is a much higher quality than just grabbing the first thing that you see, it will always taste better, it'll be much healthier for you, and it'll be on your terms. So you really get to experience true pleasure with your food. You get to enjoy it, as opposed to just going out and haphazardly desiring this, getting it, and desiring that. It's like you're always seeking the next thrill, but it's shallow and it doesn't always come. Number 4, emotions and your stuff can come up to be dealt with when you're not blocking it from happening with food. This is probably where the real spiritual transformation happens. So often we have things in our life, even when modern times with technology, with processes that make our lives easier and better, it's still life. It's still living on a planet, in a big rock in the middle of the universe, okay? And so we have situations that cause us to be stressed out and cause us anxiety. And sometimes these things build up over the years, and we'll be in situations where it's triggered. And so once it's triggered, a lot of times we as humans have different coping mechanisms for that. We try to push that energy aside. Maybe we go out for a run, or we go and work out, or we just go and scream, or we cry. And sometimes we try to block things from coming in. We shut down, we get very quiet, we go somewhere, we try to run away. When a very common coping mechanism for many people today is eating. Again, when you're in an environment where food is readily available, especially somewhat good tasting junk food at all hours of the day, at night, you're having a bad day, you're having a crappy time, you go for a drink, or you go for a sweet treat or something special because it was stressful. When you don't do that, when you don't reach for that crutch, it then puts you face to face with whatever is bothering you in life, to where you can deal with it. And that's the secret to real happiness right there, is dealing with the problems and growing from it and moving on, not blocking it out with food or drinks or drugs or whatever it happens to be. Dealing with the problem, it's like getting into an icy cold pool. It's going to sting at first, but after a couple of seconds, after a little bit, you get used to it and you're able to move around, as opposed to before just putting your feet in and then going, no, I'm going to jump now. Nope, I'm not going to go in the pool yet. Nope. I mean, I hope you guys can get the analogy that I'm making. Dealing with your stuff is always going to be more beneficial for you than putting it aside and postponing it. So when you're not shoving food down your gullet all of the time, you deal with your stuff. You deal with these emotions that have been holding you back in life from being happy, from being peaceful, from being successful at what you do, and you're much easy. It's much easier for you to become a more effective human being. And then 5, if you're not doing OMAD or some form of time-restricted eating, then you probably don't incorporate any mindfulness into your eating. And I know this was especially true for me. I know when I was eating 3 meals a day or more and snacking, I was not consciously choosing anything really. It's like whatever was around me, I was like, I would just eat. I never actually sat down, and you can almost make this into a meditative like practice. You can sit down and like what I do now is, especially if I'm only eating 1 meal a day and that 1 meal lasts me say 45 minutes or so, I want to be able to enjoy every second of it, and that requires me to be mindful of what I'm doing and what I'm putting into my body. Okay, I want to enjoy every second of it because it's going to be another day before I get this experience again. So I don't want distractions. I don't want phones going off. I'm not going to be on the computer. I'm not going to be watching TV. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to eat my food. I'm going to enjoy the textures and the experience of it. Enjoy every little last bit of it before my meal is over with and it's time for me to move on. And mindfulness is a very big trendy topic right now, and it's something, at least for Buddhism, that's been involved with that particular religion for a long time. But it starts there, and then mindfulness also happens to go into other areas of your life. So you become more mindful of what you're wasting. You can become more mindful of, geez, do I really need, more of an environmental impact? Do I need more clothes? Do I need to, is there anything that's not working in my life, or, any sort of toxic relationships that I have that need to be dealt with, et cetera, et cetera. So again, this happens when you incorporate that mindfulness. It goes into other areas of your life, along with a lot of these other topics that I talked about today. And overall, it builds this ego, this map of reality for you that is a lot more effective in getting the things that you want in life. Much better chance of you reaching happiness, peace, success in what you're doing, and overall just improving all of your relationships, along with improving your health and helping you to look better. So when I've made videos before and I've talked about how OMAD has many different benefits, this is one of the ones that's not one of the most immediate that most people would end up thinking about. The improvement of the self, the improvement of the ego construct, whatever you want to call it, your internal map of reality, and upgrading this map, upgrading your ego, so that you could become a more effective and just an all-around better person, for not only for you but for your family and for society. All of this is helped and was sparked off for me mostly because of OMAD, and naturally restricting myself from the way I was doing things before. And so again, I encourage you to give OMAD a try if you haven't already. And I'd like to hear your opinions and comments on this, and whether you agree with me at all. Again, don't forget to leave me a comment below, or you can email me. I have my email in the description for this video. But that's going to be it for me for today, folks. I hope you guys are having a very great week. I hope you're having a very happy day, a very happy OMAD, and be well.